This is the Hard Thing Podcast. Welcome to The Forge. Welcome back to another episode of the Hard Thing Podcast. This is The Forge, where usually myself and my co-host Ty Crockett, we put ourselves to the challenge. We put ourselves to the test by doing hard things, trying to show you what it looks like, and hopefully give you an example and hopefully push you to do the same. So every week on Thursdays, we talk about the action items that were given to us by our Monday shows. On Monday, I talk to high-performing individuals who have done hard things. And we talk about the action items that they give us and how we apply them in our lives and what we do with them. We also give each other challenges, and we talk about how we do those challenges and how hard they are and things like that. So without further ado, let's jump into it today. Unfortunately, I don't have my co-host Ty Crockett with me. Suffice it to say, I won't go into detail, but his family is going through a bit of a rough patch. So if you could keep him in your prayers, if possible. Keep Ty and his family in your prayers. I know that they would appreciate that. So let's jump into it, though. Let's talk about 2 weeks ago, the challenges Ty gave to me. So first, he challenged me to do 10 minutes of horse stance. And then he challenged me to write 15 pages of a book or short story or whatnot and publish it. So first, the bad news, I failed the horse stance challenge. So I looked up what it is to do horse stance. I believe it's an Oriental fighting style stance where you keep your legs pretty far apart and you kind of sit down in that stance. Well, it's almost like a wall sit, but without the wall, almost. And I started it out, and let me tell you, pride comes before the fall, because I started it and I only made it a minute before I couldn't do it anymore. It's pretty tough, but that was a good challenge. I failed it. Now, on to the good news. I did publish a short story on Amazon. And for those of you who don't know me, I am somewhat of a nerd, so I love fantasy books, science fiction books, all that junk, in addition to, all the personal development books and so forth. And actually, this might be a great place to put in a plug for Audible. You can actually get a free audiobook today. I know that everyone listening to this probably loves listening to people talk and things like that and stories. So you can go to audibletrial.com/thehardthingpodcast, get a free audiobook today. You can get science fiction, fantasy, personal development, really all sorts of genres. They have over 180,000 titles. Some books on there are really good. One of my favorites is, again, the complete works of Sherlock Holmes. I love that. It's 60 hours of Stephen Fry reading excellent literary works to you. So go to audibletrial.com/thehardthingpodcast, get your free audiobook today. Now, I wrote a small fantasy short story. It was just for fun. Okay, so if you want to go look it up, it's called It's called Alphalin's Trials on Amazon by Justin Lewis. I bet if you search Justin Lewis and go to the bottom of the list, you'd probably find me. Alphalin is spelled ALTHOLIN, and then Trials. That's just it. It's a fantasy story. If you want to know more about it, it's there. It's $3, whatever. Not big deal. But I want to talk more about the process about doing it, because I think you'd be more interested in knowing how to self-publish on Amazon. It's not that hard. Honestly, the difficulties in publishing, I would say nowadays, most of it comes in the form of getting your idea on paper, making sure those ideas sound good, so editing, all that junk, making sure they look good, so having a good book cover and all that sort of things, and then promoting it. I'd say those are the 4 biggest challenges with writing books today. Getting it published is not that difficult because you can self-publish, period. In fact, all I did to go self-publish was I typed in self-publish book, right? And then Amazon, it's like kdp.amazon or something like that. That's the URL. You go there and it runs you right through it. You do it right from your Amazon account. It's pretty simple, pretty easy. I'd actually published a book before for a previous venture. You could say Ty and I were trying to do some sort of financial consulting business. So I self-published a small book about finances and debt and things like that. I'm not an expert, so it didn't obviously go very far, but it's still out there. Anyways. So first thing you got to know, you can self-publish an ebook or a physical printed book. Now, when I tried to do the printed book, it said my file was not correct because you need at least 24 pages to print a printed book, okay? So I ended up publishing an ebook since mine was only 15 pages. That was the challenge. Now, the nice thing about Amazon is that you just put your title there, you upload the manuscript, and then if you don't have a book cover, you can actually launch their book cover producer, their software for that, which is really cool. That's what I did. Again, since I'm not really expecting to make money off of this, I just put it out there kind of for fun. And as part of the challenge, I didn't spend too much time on the book cover, so it doesn't look amazing. I would highly recommend going to Fiverr or Upwork and things like that. You can get someone to design your book cover and make it look really nice and really fancy. And then you can upload that and submit it. And honestly, the whole part of uploading the book and publishing it took about like 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes tops for me. So again, if you're writing a book, if you want to write a book, first thing to do, get your ideas on paper and make sure, I would say this, put all of your ideas on paper first before you go back and edit. That's the surefire way to make sure that at the end you have a book. You can't edit a non-book. Like, you have to have a book to edit if you want to put that up online or if you want to print that. So before you edit, make sure you go back and just get your ideas on paper, okay? Because the editing is going to take a long time, so just get your ideas out there, right? Next, I would highly recommend finding someone who is a good editor, okay? They know what they're about and they've done it before. I think, and this is my unprofessional opinion, I think that's where you're going to get the most bang for your buck, is spending on a good editor and then spending it on a good marketer. And if you find one person that does both things, more power to you. That's great. That's awesome. Okay. So, moral of the story is, I published a book, and I did that so you know that you can do it too. It really doesn't take that long. All you need to do is get your ideas on paper, get it edited, and then get it up online. It's simple. It doesn't cost you a thing. And then you can go around and say, hey, I published a book. Again, after that point, you got to market it. That's where the real struggle comes in, I believe. But now you know you can publish a book on Amazon. All right. So now let's talk about the action items given to us by this last week's guest. This last week I talked with Juan Lee. He is also an author and an Air Force veteran. And we had a very fun conversation. Here are the action items he gave us. First of all, change your attitude towards success. Second, sacrifice. Third, be humble. And fourth, give. Okay? I'm going to start with give. In today's day and age, I think a lot of people are really confused. They believe... Okay, let me back up, I guess. As a good person, you believe that good people should give to others who are in need, right? Therefore, if there is a need, if there are people in need, then people should give to them, right? The logic isn't flawed. It's good logic. The problem comes when people start to believe that it's required that everyone give to those people in need. They start then to believe that the government needs to force us to give. And that's how we solve that problem. That is where the problem lies, because the second you start making government make people do things, then you're not really doing them for the sake of doing that thing. So if the government forces me to pay money to a charity, then I'm not choosing to pay money to the charity. It doesn't benefit me at all. I'm just doing it so I don't get in trouble. I don't want to go to jail. It's not, because your motivation matters, okay? Your motivation definitely matters. So with all of this said, I am, I guess, trying to say that giving is a personal responsibility. That's the only way it can matter. And when you give correctly, you connect yourself with the receiver. Not for your own aggrandizement, but honestly for your own joy. If you give properly, you give of yourself. And you honestly receive from the receiver of themselves. It's a connection. It's unity. That's how you really truly give. And sometimes giving is nothing more than just being with someone as they suffer and suffering there with them. In the Bible, it says, weep with those that weep and mourn with those that mourn. I was always very confused at what that means. But recently, I believe that to weep with those that weep and mourn with those that mourn is to treat their suffering as your suffering. And for suffering that you can't do anything about, that might not seem super effective, but it sure makes it a heck of a lot less lonely. So suffer with those that suffer. Give of yourselves. And when you can, give when you have material means, but when you don't have material means, don't hold back of giving yourself, giving of your time. It's difficult. It really is. We all struggle with it. A while back, or a couple weeks back, Ty gave me the challenge to do 1 hour of volunteer service, and 1 hour does not seem that much in a 2-week span. Let's see, 24 times 14, 200, and it's something like 248, something around there. 248 hours. Out of all of that, I was supposed to give 1 to other people, and it took me until like the 12th or 13th day to actually get it done. But when I did, I really felt good, and I enjoyed myself, and I didn't count it as a burden, you could say. So take some time and give of yourself to others. That's a really great action item, because when you give of yourself to others, I think it gives you some room to figure out what's going on in your life, as well as some perspective. Next, and I know I'm going in kind of reverse order, but that's because I think the first action item was the most important. Okay, be humble. Be humble. I define humility as an accurate understanding of things as they really are. Okay? You see yourself as you really are. You recognize that you would not be where you are without many great blessings given to you by people who came before you. For example, I was lucky enough to be born in a household with a mother and a father who stayed together and gave me great amounts of love. My father was born in a household where his father, so my grandpa, ended up being unfaithful to my grandma, and that caused a divorce and a rift in their family. And then my grandma, when my dad was, I think, 19, my grandma contracted cancer. I don't know if that's the right word, contracted, but she was diagnosed with cancer, and then she passed away. So my grandpa remarried and basically started a new life with this woman who had some daughters, and then they had some more daughters. But my father and his brothers never really felt a part of that family, right? So my father did not have the blessing and benefit of growing up in a home with 2 loving parents who supported you and helped you grow and thrive. I did. Now, my father was the first person in his family to go to college and get a college education, right? In my family, all of my siblings have either attended college, graduated from college, or even pursued higher degrees of learning. So my eldest brother is now in medical school. And I think only my youngest sister is still pursuing her bachelor's. Everyone else has a bachelor's at least. Okay? Now that's huge. That's huge. And to be sure, all of us siblings have done work and we've put forth effort, but we would be fools to think that we did that all by ourselves. Just outright fools. We were given so many blessings right from the get-go that, honestly, I hate the word, but we didn't deserve. And a quick aside, I don't think we should use the word deserve anymore. Obviously, we didn't earn those rewards, but even things that we do earn, how much of that can be attributed to people who, again, came before us? Like me doing this podcast. I did not create the technology to make a podcast. I honestly was not the first person to think that, hey, when you do hard things, you become a better person. I have benefited from other people and other ideas who came before me. So, honestly, I hate the term privilege because it's bandied about in such nonsensical and almost flippant ways. in my opinion. But I think all of us need to recognize how privileged we are. And we need to be humble and recognize that, yes, I've done some pretty cool things. I've done some awesome things, but most of what I've done can also be attributed to other people. They get a lot of credit too. And since I'm religious, I credit my God as well. So many things, so many blessings I've received have come from him. Now, another aspect of humility that I think we all need to incorporate is the curiosity of learning. You need to constantly want to learn. So I am a very prideful person. I like to think of myself as awesome and crap like that, just like everyone else, right? Now, for those of you who might not know, I've recently tried to start learning some aspects of boxing. And my younger brother-in-law, he's about 17, he trains at a boxing gym much more regularly than I do. And he's been doing it a long time. He watches all sorts of videos. So when he takes opportunities to say, hey, I'd like to teach you this thing, it's honestly a struggle. But when I do take the time and say, yes, I'd like to learn, and I listen, and I humble myself, and I listen to him, I get better. Especially when I get past the fact that I think that I'm older than him, so I know more, blah, 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 all that crap, right? It's so easy to think like that, right? It's so easy. But when you let that down and you push that away, you're able to learn more and improve more. So I would highly encourage you, when you're humble, ask questions to people around you. Ask them about things that they know more about you, more than you do, okay? Now, next one. Sacrifice. And I'm gonna talk about this in conjunction with changing your attitude towards success. So Juan, when he gave this action item of sacrifice, it was really in the context of sacrifice for your success, right? Most of us it's funny, we have this kind of dual-sided opinion of ourselves. Like, we think we are the best, we have this unearned pride, yet we don't dare to dream greatly because we don't think we can achieve certain things. Like, I know someone who makes these really awesome knitted yarn things. In fact, she made kind of a big bag of them, of Star Wars characters, little ornaments to hang on your tree out of yarn. And they look super cool. And we've all been telling her, hey, you need to start a business on Etsy. That would be amazing, okay? But for whatever reason, she hasn't tried. Maybe she has, but from our viewpoint, she hasn't ventured out that way. And we just want to say, hey, do it. You can do it. You know. And part of me wonders if maybe she doesn't believe that she can do it. And it's crazy because honestly, I think if we're talking about sacrifice, that's the first thing you need to sacrifice, that belief that you can't. Because the only way you're going to find out is if you do it. You know, going back to that one conversation I had with Annelle Bester, although she's changed her name since then. She said when she was running the Sky Run in New Zealand, she was running this really long race and she was really tired, and she realized that if she, her body says you can't go another step, right? And then she said, if I go another step, then my body's lying. Well, mentally, we sometimes tell ourselves, you can't do this, right? But if you do that, then you're lying, right? You prove yourself wrong. So first thing to sacrifice is your attitude that you can't, okay? And maybe you do need to be realistic, but I would say go for it. Try it anyways, okay? And with that, I would say when you change your attitude towards success, this isn't whimsical believing. This is you saying, I think I can, so I'm going to make plans and execute to make it happen. That's how you change your attitude towards success. And the way you sacrifice for that is you start getting rid of things that aren't moving you towards that goal, aren't moving the needle. A great example in my life was I wanted to become a digital marketer, which is what I am now. I'm an SEO specialist. And a couple of years ago, my parents made me promise to get a college education. In my heart of hearts, I didn't believe that a college education would necessarily help me get to where I wanted to be, right? I didn't think that that was my path, especially because not only do I want to be a digital marketer, my end goal is to be a real estate investor and a podcaster doing this full time. Neither of those do you need college educations for. You just need to learn more and grow your experience. I ended up fulfilling that promise, but I think it might have set me back a bit. It might have set me back. I haven't used my degree since, and I earned my job by getting a sales role at the company I currently work at, working very, very hard at that role. And then, well, to be sure, I was blessed and I was really lucky because I had an opportunity to come up, but I was able to use that opportunity to move myself into a digital marketing role, a role in the actual marketing side of the business. But it was primarily because they saw my work ethic in the sales position. So sometimes you do have to sacrifice things. Like maybe I should have sacrificed my promise to my parents that I would get a college education and just work on other things that I knew would get me where I wanted to be faster. Maybe you need to sacrifice hours in front of the TV, or maybe not even that. Maybe you just need to sacrifice not doing anything while you watch TV. Maybe you should just start working on your goals while you're watching TV. Maybe you need to sacrifice some relationships around you of people that are constantly telling you you're not enough. Maybe you need to sacrifice your shyness in order to create relationships with people that would tell you you are enough. Maybe you need to sacrifice selfish tendencies in order to give more. Maybe you need to sacrifice ideas and pipe dreams in order to work on things that actually will work. I can't tell you what won't and what will and won't work. Only you can decide that. But I would encourage you to set your sights higher and sacrifice things that won't get you there. All right. Now, before we talk about next week's challenges, and actually here's a quick surprise for you. With the new challenges, I'm going to have a special guest come on and give me these new challenges. But first, let's talk about a couple of announcements. One of my favorite things about these podcast episodes, The Forge, is having Ty here, giving me challenges, working with me, and pushing me to be a better person. I found so much growth just by having another person give me perspectives on my life and what I talk about, that I want to share that same blessing and benefit with you. I want to give you a community that you can tap into, join with, and find greater purpose and meaning, as well as pushing yourself to reach greater heights. So I want to give you The Forge. Now, you're saying, hey, The Forge is the name of this Thursday podcast. Yes, you're right. But The Forge is also the name of a free community we've created so you can find other people that are like you, band together with them, and use that support to push yourself to higher levels. Also, you'll get access to a couple things. First of all, you'll get access to live streamed episodes where you can interact with me, and I'll interact with podcast guests on your behalf in order to ask those questions you ask and things like that. You'll get to see those live, and that's really cool because we don't edit those, right? We won't be able to edit those live. You'll see what you see. You'll see all our mistakes, all bloopers and things like that. Not only that, but you'll get access to a weekly challenge that is only on The Forge, and that's for free, right? And then the people who do the best on those challenges will be featured on our social media and shouted out on the podcast. So that's cool too. Last but not least, you get access to discounts for our merchandise on thehardthingpodcast.com/shop, where you can get all sorts of things like hats, beanies, hoodies, t-shirts. I think there's phone cases and masks, all sorts of stickers, whatever, But I think the most important thing you get from The Forge is a community of brothers and sisters who are willing to push you, tell you how things are really, and help you achieve greater levels of success in your life. So go to theforge.mn.co, join for free today, and we'll see you there. It's pretty new, so it's pretty empty right now, but join up, we'll get it filled up, and we'll see you on the other side of those hard things you're dealing with. I would also like to encourage you to try something out, try something new that I have recently got this last week and a half. So I've been really wanting to measure my body weight, my body mass index, my fat percentages, my muscle mass, my water percentages, my protein ratios, and all sorts of other metrics that you've probably never even heard of, and neither did I until I got Fittrack. So Fittrack is like a bathroom scale, except it does much more than that. It syncs with your phone. So there's an app you can get actually. And every time you step on that scale, it's going to add a new data point so you can see yourself trending over a certain period of time. And it measures all sorts of things like I talked about, of bone mass, muscle mass, protein ratio, body fat percentage, body mass index, your basal metabolic rate, all sorts of other metrics that you can use to kind of calculate and really get a good picture of how healthy you are and what direction you need to be. I've always said that your weight is not a great measurement of your fitness, right? But when you take it in conjunction with your mass of muscle as well as your fat percentage, you can get a really good sense of where you are. See, if you weigh 190 and you have 30 pounds of fat, well, there's 30 pounds that I might be able to get rid of, okay? So if you want to get a Fittrack today, go to the link in show notes. It's an awesome thing. I would recommend it to everyone. I've been using it every single day since I've got it, just to have more data points and really see where I am. Now, I know we are coming off the edge of Christmas, and as you're listening to this is the New Year's Eve day, I guess you could say. A lot of people are coming up with New Year's resolutions and they want a better year for themselves. They want 2021 to be a better year. Now, there are lots of kids out there who, for them, 2021 won't be any different because they are stuck in slavery. They're sex slaves. They're being trafficked. They're human trafficked. We got to do something about that. We got to stop it. We got to put an end to it. So go to OURrescue.org, learn about Operation Underground Rescue, or Underground Railroad, excuse me. They're a nonprofit organization that goes undercover to rescue kids from sex trafficking. And even more, help us raise $1,000 to donate to them. Go to gofundme.com/overcoming-average. Donate even $1 to help us get closer to our goal of giving them $1,000. All the money goes straight towards them. Donate some money, rescue some kids today. Now, let's talk about our new challenges. I'm going to bring on my special guest. All right, and my special guest today is actually my wife, Michaela. How's it going, Michaela?
Hey, it's going good.
So, Michaela, I asked you to give me some challenges. What do you got for me?
So, your first challenge is going to be doing something spontaneous every day. At least 2 things that are spontaneous, and spending more time with your wife and less time working on other things.
Speak up.
And the last thing is playing less games on your phone.
Ooh.
/ not playing games on your phone.
That's an even better challenge. Not playing games on my phone. That's a good challenge. So the challenges were, number 1, do something spontaneous every single day for 2 weeks. Number 2, spend less time working and more time with my wife. Number 3, not play any games on my phone for 2 weeks, right? That was the first one. Right. Ooh, that's a good one. Those are good challenges. I think I'm going to do number 2 and number 3. So spending more time with my wife and not playing games on my phone for 2 weeks starting tomorrow. Thanks, Kiki.
You're welcome.
I love you.
Love you.
I don't know if you guys thought, but she is gorgeous. My beautiful wife is. But I'm thankful to her for coming on the show and giving me those challenges. I'm grateful to all of you who are with me on this journey, listening to this podcast. I really hope that it has helped you. If it has or hasn't, if you have thoughts about it, whatever, reach out to me at The Hard Thing Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. Again, if you could, send your prayers to send up some prayers for Ty and his family. They're going through a little bit of a rough patch again. They need some love and some support. Last of all, keep doing hard things because you will overcome average.